Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone, and I want to welcome you to a very special session that we're going to be starting in approximately 1 minute. And this is a topic that I personally love and I'm very passionate about speaking on, and that is how authors can make an impact and how they earn money. Now, you may or may not be an author if you're watching this right now. You may be an author and already written a book, or you're thinking about writing a book, or maybe you've never even thought about writing a book. And perhaps after this session here together, the thought of doing it may seem a lot more appealing and a lot more attractive to you. So I want to start by saying I am Dr. Peggy McColl, and I am the author of 28 books. And I've written fiction and I've written nonfiction. I have several books that have been published through publishing houses, and I've self-published several books as well. But there's some things that are happening in the marketplace today that's really creating a shift. It's a shift in the way that authors bring their books to the market, and it's creating a shift in the way that authors get traction and the way that they get results with their books out there in the marketplace as well. So perhaps during this relatively short period of time that we have together, I'm going to be covering off those things. And what I will be doing here while we are together is I have received several questions about this topic today, the topic of how authors are making an impact today. So conscious authors, and I called it conscious authors for a reason, how they're earning money and making an impact. And let's just start with why conscious authors. You see, I really believe that, when we bring our ideas to the world, whether they're in the form of a book or a program or some other service or a product, that we need to bring it to the world with the intention of bringing something of value. And this is the way, as simple as it may sound, and I love to distill things down into simplicity. This is the way entrepreneurs earn money. This is the way authors earn money. They earn money by bringing something of value to the marketplace. And truth be told, everyone has something of value to bring to the marketplace. Absolutely everyone. And sometimes people aren't even aware of what that is. But where the ideas come from for authors to create something that is of value, a conscious author, as I mentioned, a conscious author who's bringing something of value to the marketplace, comes from something they're personally passionate about. In fact, I see that Kayla Leon is here, and Kayla Leon is an award-winning author. She has written children's books and won awards for them. And she wrote her books basically from a place of passion, right? Like she decided that she wanted to share a fun message, an inspiring message, an entertaining message in the form of a children's book. And so she wrote her first book called What a Mess, Kid. I do have it right here on my bookshelf. But the reason why I'm using this as an example is this is an example of a conscious author, an author who has decided that they're going to take an idea and move on it. Now, this is actually one of the reasons why many authors or many people don't even get their work done, because they don't run with an idea. Or they may think up an idea and then immediately dismiss it or squash it for whatever reason. I can't write. Who am I? What kind? Like, I've never done this before, or things like that. In fact, I'm certain if Kayla allowed that to happen, we would have never seen What a Mess, Kid to come out. So she says her book is also a place for imagination to grow. Thank you, Kayla. I appreciate you being here. And so I believe that, Kayla, being someone who had never written a children's book before, and yes, she is my daughter-in-law, and I'm very proud of her, and I'm very proud of what she accomplished. In fact, I didn't even know she was writing a children's book. And at the time, I had never written a children's book, but she decided to do it. And even though she didn't know what to do, she moved into action and she got it done. Now, I've done a children's book as well out of the 28 books that I've done. And basically, because that idea floated into my consciousness as well. And so this is where ideas spark. When people start thinking about, hey, I think I've got an idea that I can bring to the marketplace. In fact, I was reading a story just yesterday about a gentleman by the name of Alan Levi. and he's 69 years of age, so young. And he had, he had quite an eclectic career. He had done many, many different things in his career. And one of the things that he did in his career was he was a musician. But he was in a coffee shop one day and he saw these pencil sketchings, and he bought one. And he ended up acquiring these pencil sketchings and wanted to find out a little bit more of the history behind them, like who was the artist, why did they do it, etc. And it led him to actually write a novel inspired by an experience that he had in his life. But here's what's fascinating about this. Here's an example of another author who did not know what they were doing, made a decision that they were going to do it, moved into action, and he ultimately self-published his book, brought it out to the market, began to promote the book, and he ended up selling around 3,000 copies in the first year. Now, that was 2023, so it's not that long ago, so 2023. But he never quit. And this is a characteristic of every author that has experienced success, that is either experienced success with their physical books or with their earnings. Because here we're talking about how conscious authors earn money and make an impact, okay? So even you, Eric, I see that you're here as well. You definitely have a book in you. And so every one of my books has come from an inspiration. In fact, I wrote a book called Be a Dog with a Bone because when I was an author, I realized that if you're not a determined individual, you might as well pack it up and go get a job. But I had a desire, and that desire was to share, share my passion, share ideas, and everybody has something to share. Anyways, so this gentleman, Alan, he decided to publish this book. He brought it to the marketplace. He self-published. He sold 3,000 his first year. And then his second year, he never quit, kept going. He ended up selling 25,000. That is substantial. That's a really, really good number of sales. Because what you need to think about is this. When you write a great book that people love and people start to tell you like, I really love your book, or it captivated me. And I'm talking fiction and nonfiction. And we all have the ability to write in either genre. Okay. But when you write a book where people love it, what do? They tell their friends. And word of mouth is absolutely the best way for any book to sell. So what happened for Alan was that word of mouth started to spread from the initial readers who loved his book, obviously. And even though he was promoting to get the initial sales going, which was brilliant, and then he started selling 1,000 copies a day. And that got the attention of a publishing house, which is an imprint of Simon & Schuster. They bought the rights to his book, and the rest is history, as they say. And it wasn't even that long ago. What I love about the potential of conscious authors earning money and making an impact is there's only one prerequisite to become an author, just one. Do you know what it is? Any guesses? And that prerequisite is desire. You have to have a desire to do it. So as I said earlier at the beginning of this, I want to answer some questions that were submitted. And this is obviously going to also cover off our topic of how conscious authors make money and make an impact. Also, I have an announcement today that I want to share with you. I'm going to be doing something I've never done before. This is a really exciting opportunity. It's with an exclusive group of people, and it is called The Conscious Author. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later. We'll put the link in here as well. And so I'm going to get to that. But let's go to these questions that were submitted. The first question is, can you really make meaningful money from a book anymore, or is that era over? Can you really make meaningful money from a book, or is that era over? Interesting question. Is that era over? Of course it's not over. People still buy books. In fact, people are very much drawn to books, and people love that the flexibility of getting a book in a different format, like Audible, paperback, Kindle for a Kindle reader, electronic copy, PDFs, these kinds of things just make it more accessible. So books are absolutely still hot. It's a hot commodity. Information is really the category that books fall in. It still is information age. I think it always will be. And But what works really well as far as what books are books that are unique. And it doesn't have to be majorly unique, just even subtly unique can really have a book stand out from the rest. So can you really make meaningful money from a book anymore, or is that era over? Well, one of the things I want to share with you is just within the last few months, I've actually released 3 books. I wrote them all. I used AI to help with some editing, but I actually wrote all of these books. So this book here, The Moment of Alignment, was, excuse me, released by a publishing house, and I sold the rights to that, so I received an advance. This book is available in paperback, Kindle, and Audible. So I went into a studio and I recorded it. So that is 3 sources of income from one book. This book here, just released last week, or actually about 9 days ago, is a book that is also in paperback, Kindle, and Audible. And it was a book that I received an advance for from a publishing house, and that was last week. This book, I decided last year to complete. I've been thinking about this book for a long, long time, and I decided to get it done. I moved into action. It was my 28th book, and I self-published the book and released it. It is available in Audible. I recorded it in a studio, Kindle, and paperback. So this is 3 sources of income. And so, can people make meaningful money? Absolutely. You can make it from the physical books for sure. From electronic books, you could sell electronic books from your website, or other things where you have in the back of your book leading to something else that you have to offer, whether it's a service or a program or some other kind of offering that you have. So books can definitely lead to meaningful revenue. And as I said earlier, anyone can do it, anyone that has a desire to do it. So that era is definitely not over. In fact, it's easier today, less expensive today than it has ever been. Now, I've been an author for 24 years. So it was 24 years ago when I released my first book. And I put my book on the New York Times bestseller list. And I will say one of my greatest expenses as an author, but this is gone, by the way. Okay, so this is my point. I want to help you understand how today it does not cost you as much. In fact, this physical book and the Kindle book and the Audible book cost me less than $1,000 to actually create this book that's now out there in the world. But years ago, if you were hiring an editor, or you were hiring a ghostwriter, or you were paying for a copywriter, or paying for a book architect, you could get into the tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, I had someone tell me or ask me the other day, they asked me what was the most amount of money that I ever paid for editing. And I would say the most amount of money that I ever paid for editing was many years ago. And it was probably around $1,300 to edit a book. But I wrote it really fast. It was a book that I wrote in a day. So I needed the editor to really go through it thoroughly. And that one cost me a little bit more than any other editing that I had ever done. This is my favorite book, by the way. The World Doesn't Need Another Self-Help Book. That's my latest book. Okay, so when I think back to years ago and paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to a marketing person to write copy, consistently writing copy, I don't have that expense anymore. Why? Because you can use AI to help you. It doesn't replace you, but it can help you with certain things. And this is something I get into when I'm working with my author clients. Secondly, with the creation process, with editing, with the structural, you can get AI to help you. Now, I call my program the Conscious Author because you have to bring your own integrity into this. This has to be authentic. We're not talking about having AI write your book. I'm talking about having AI, just like a resource, just like an editor, just like a ghostwriter, is going to help you create the content. And there's so many different AI tools that are out there available to you. In fact, I've created even ebooks that I've given away and used AI to create the image for the cover, things like that, workbooks and guidebooks and giveaways and things like that. All of that are ways that you can considerably shut down your expenses, unlike anything I've seen before. So I think it's the best time ever to become an author. I think the opportunities are better than they've ever been. People are more used to buying online and investing online. And no matter where you are in the world, whether you're in China, whether you're in Guatemala, whether you're in the Ukraine, whether you're in Paris, you can reach people anywhere because there are over 6 billion people online. And if you're online, you can reach them. And so it's a tremendous time. I think the best time to become an author. The second question is, where does the real money actually come from? Where does the real money actually come from for authors? Is it book sales? Is it from speaking engagements? Is it from programs? Is it from consulting? Or is it from something else? I work with some authors who don't even put their real name on the book cover because they want to remain anonymous because they are doing other things. They have careers and they simply want to write books, but they don't want to have their name out there in the world. And so as a result of that, they're looking to earn their revenue from the book itself. Now, the book itself can become multiple sources of income because the book can be put into multiple formats. Plus, you could have a book, and if you see there's a shelf right behind me here where my book is in several languages, you could also have a book get picked up by a foreign publisher and end up receiving an advance for another language, for your book to be translated into another language. And that can lead to a lot more earnings as well. But one of the things that's really exciting about just book sales or only book sales revenue for authors is that, like this story that I shared with you earlier about that gentleman, Alan, 69 years of age, who released a book and sold only 3,000 copies in his first year, and then 25,000 the next year. And then 2025, he started selling 1,000 books a day and then receiving an advance from a publishing house. That's where it can scale, right? And what's exciting about that is it's open for everyone. And that's what's really wonderful. It's open season. So if you do have a book and it's a quality book and you put it on the marketplace, and that's another thing that's really easy to do. In fact, someone was asking me the other day, brand new to this world, not knowing what to do, where to go, etc. Figured they'd come to the expert and ask me, like, how do I get this up and available online? Relatively easy. And it's also what I'm going over in the mastermind that we're doing for the Conscious Author, which you can check out, and I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. Here's a really good question. I'm sure you're going to love the answer to this one. Do I need a huge audience or social media following to earn well as an author? No, you don't. It's helpful though. I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt. It's a wonderful thing to have a big following or email list or a big audience, or you're somebody who's speaking and constantly on stages. I think that can be definitely helpful. No question about it. But the question was, do I need it? And the answer is no. You do not need it. And here's why. The reason is because there are many ways, there are alternative ways that you can reach your potential audience, which is your readers, through other people that have a reach. And there's a variety of ways of doing that, many, many different ways. And that can be accomplished with being a guest, being interviewed, providing content, or you sharing content that is likable, that will cause people to go, oh my goodness, this is brilliant. I want to share this on my social media, because things can go viral online. They can go viral online. And that's the fun thing about the internet, is that who knows where it's going to go, right? You could do a post or write an article or do a video or create a YouTube channel, and you could have something up there and somebody's like raving about it and loves it, found a lot of value in it. Like maybe they were intrigued, maybe they were humored, like whatever it is. And they decide that they want to tell other people, and then it can go viral. Now, that's not a matter of just like, oh, please, please, like praying and hoping and wishing. That's not what that is. Because what's most relevant for any author who is truly looking to create success is to be aligned with the outcome of the success first. Now, that is why I wrote the book, The Moment of Alignment. I mean, that's really what this book is all about. The precise moment where intention becomes reality is when you're aligned with it. You see, when I decided that my book, Your Destiny Switch, was going to be a New York Times bestseller, I aligned with that outcome. What does it mean to align with the outcome? It means that you're feeling consistently, you are feeling as if it's already done. It's already done. It's already done. You live like that. You think like that. You act like that. You behave that way. you take action in that way, and then surprising things will happen. It does not mean that you sit on your butt, sit back, arms crossed or arms behind your head and just, visualize. You must take action too. It is important to take action. So if you don't already have a following, that's okay. And even if you do, you will likely want to jump on board with other people that have a following. And you'll see this. This is very common practice. I want you to understand that this is something that's done all the time. It's done with movies. Like, think about, there's a new movie that's released recently called The Rip. And it's with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. And they haven't done a movie together for many years. I think about 20 years or something like that. And yet, what do you see? You're seeing, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon doing videos together, all kinds of content, little shorts, reels. They're on talk shows. It's like they're everywhere, right? So what's going on? What's going on with that? It's like when Marty Supreme, that movie was going to come out before it was being released, which was around Christmas time. You would hear about Marty Supreme as a movie. You would hear about it everywhere. What were they doing? They were marketing. They were advertising. They creating a buzz. Right. And this is what authors can do as well. And I was watching an interview the other day with Tony Robbins, and he was being interviewed by Lewis Howes. And then I saw another interview where he was with Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. And I was thinking again, I know Tony's doing a free event. It's coming up soon. And this is his way of promoting. Right? Using other people that have a big reach. Now, Tony has a big reach as well. But why I'm saying that is even people that already have a big reach use other people to get the message out there. So this is not uncommon. You're basically looking for other people to help spread the word about whatever it is that you have to offer. Why is it that some authors, here's the next question. Why is it that some authors make very little while others create substantial income from similar books? Wow, that's a great question. I think there's probably a couple. I'm going to put them into categories of reasons why. One is the mentality, right? It's the attitude. It's the identity that they're consuming. It's the mindset that they are involved with. That has a big impact as far as any kind of results, and certainly for authors as well. The second one is they're not doing anything. I remember when I did write my very first book and I was completely ignorant on the market, what's required to get a book out there in the world. And I just really hoped that if I got my book in the bookstores that it would sell, and it wasn't. And I quickly learned, thankfully, that what's most valuable is to be an author that's out there and market yourself, even if you're shy, right? It doesn't matter. But, when I think about one of the things that stops authors from moving forward, quite often it is because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to format their materials. They don't know how to write. And even if they have written a book already, because I know there's some people on here that have written a book already, there's another book that you could write. I mean, I've done 28. I'm definitely going to be taking time off. I'm going to be working with a group of authors. In fact, that's what the Conscious Author Mastermind is. It's called the Conscious Author AI Method because I'm going to show tools and resources that can be used. But this is going to be a group of authors that I'm going to work with, very select. It's an application process only. And we're going to be working through a 12-week period while you write your next masterpiece, and with my guidance. So we're going to be doing this as a group. There's going to be live classes every week. In fact, there's several of them. Some weeks we have 2 live classes. But it's a mastermind as well. So not only are you going to be working on your own book while we're going through the mastermind, but you're going to be seeing what others are doing as well, and very likely get inspired by those creations. But I'm going to show you and guide you into how to get your book done in that period of time, even if you don't even have an idea. It's called the Conscious Author AI Method Mastermind, but you can find it at theconsciousauthor.com. And if you are on social media and you're maybe didn't get that link, theconsciousauthor.com, just DM author and we'll make sure that we get that link to you. Okay. Author. Okay. So just make sure that you put that link in there and we will be good to go. All right. Now what changes when authors stop trying to figure out alone and write within the structure in a community? And this is really why I created the mastermind. Somebody asked, what happens, when somebody does that? Well, number one, you're moving into action, right? It's like you're saying yes to your dream. You're saying yes to something that is going to open the door to potential for you. Now, this is one of the things that I absolutely am madly in love with being an author. The first thing that I'm in love with being an author is that you're out there making a difference. You're making a contribution, even if it's a fiction book. In fact, there are more fiction books, sold than nonfiction books. People want stories. Everybody has one. I wrote a trilogy, a fiction trilogy that's optioned to be made into a movie. And I had never written fiction before, but I sat down and I wrote it. So whether you're a fiction author or nonfiction author, this conscious author mastermind is definitely going to be applicable for you. Same thing with children's books. You could write a children's book. But when you make a decision, to do something you've never done before, it's like everything aligns for you as well, especially when you have the right guidance. And considering I do have 28 books out there in the world in many different genres, published and self-published. And what we're going to be covering off during this period of time together is not only the creation of the masterpiece, but how to do it effectively, how to do it in a way that causes the word of mouth appeal. Because that's what I mentioned earlier. This is what causes a book to become a big success, is the viral part of it, where people will talk about it with other people. And next thing you know, another book is bought, another 2 books are bought, another case is bought. And then it just creates this spiral effect of, what's that book that you have? And next thing you know, everybody is buying the book. And this is a wonderful thing. And that's where it can lead to, like, if you self-publish, it could lead to getting a contract with a publishing house. Or if you are somebody who is looking for a publisher as well, we can get into that as well. But anyways, the Conscious Author Mastermind is going to go over all of that. But mostly, we're calling it the Creator Studio, where we're going to be a writer studio. We're going to actually be writing and sharing and progressing as you're going along in this 12-week program. It is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very focused on particular outcomes. And it is an application process. We want to make sure that the people that are part of this mastermind are the right kind of people. It's like, who are you surrounding yourself with, right? And, the truth is, if you want to know what you're like, look at who you are hanging out with, because we're typically like the people that we hang out with. And I find that authors are an incredible group of individuals. They're people that love to help, love to contribute, and they get it. I mean, they really understand the passion for getting their messages out there in the world. And even if you are an author that has written a book, but yet you want to write one that you feel could be potentially the next blockbuster or the next big New York Times hit success. I think about, some of my clients that I work with many, many years ago who were completely unknown and then became very well known. Or I think about clients that I work with as well that were already well known, but they wanted to make an even greater impact in the world as well. But either way, I really feel that authors, it's like we understand each other. We get it. We recognize the passion that's there. And we truly do want to be a conscious author that's out there earning money and making an impact. And making an impact can happen through fiction and nonfiction. In fact, just think about, fiction. If it's a book that is, rather interesting or intriguing, it could end up being made into a movie or made into a series. In fact, my good friend Ariel Ford, who wrote the foreword for my latest book, The World Doesn't Need Another Self-Help Book, she recently wrote a fiction book. It was her first fiction book called The Love Thief. Very well done. I love her book. In fact, it's beside my bedstand. I'm reading it for the second time. And it is being made into a series. And of course, my sequel, or my trilogy, pardon me, Savvy Wisdom, is also been optioned to be made into a movie. And so, if you have an idea, maybe it's based on a relative, maybe it's based on your own life, maybe it's based on, something you saw, and maybe another movie or another book you read, or just something that you came up with. You see, that's exciting about the entertainment industry and writing fiction, is people are always looking for something else. It's like food, right? You don't just buy food and that's it, you're done. You buy more food. Why? Because you're hungry. Same thing for authors. Readers, I mean, same thing for readers. Readers will buy more books because they're hungry. They're hungry to be entertained. They're hungry to be inspired. They're hungry to be educated. And this is a reason why, as I talked about from the very first question, is that the era of being an author is far from over. In fact, I think it's stronger than it's ever been because there's less barrier to entry and it's much easier. And there's no limit to where this can go. There's absolutely no limit. The other thing that I want to just summarize with before we wrap up for today is just how good it feels to get it done. You know, how you develop this wonderful sense of accomplishment. I definitely believe it is a wonderful character builder for people. Quite often, because I've worked with so many authors over the years, is that they found that it really shifted their business as far as results are concerned, because once their book was out there in the world, people started to look at them differently and started to make assumptions that, wow, they must be experts. They must really know what they're talking about because they've released a book. And, you know, it's a credibility factor is really what it is. And when you start winning awards or you start getting on bestseller lists, that credibility goes way up and people are looking for authentic, credible people to either study from, learn from, read from, get engaged with. And that's something else that can happen when you're a fiction author is you write a great book, people are waiting for your next one and waiting for your next one and waiting for your next one. So will you be the next author that's going to be an author that we're going to be talking about in our classes as an example of someone who has succeeded? You could be. Absolutely. So if you're interested and you want to walk with me and another group of individuals, I'm the guide for this. It's called the Conscious Author Mastermind, and we are starting in March. And we will have 12 weeks. Some weeks there's 2 classes a week. You don't have to get on all the classes, but we're going to be working during this time frame. There's Q&A, there's some mastermind, there's writer studio. It is going to be incredible, unlike anything that you've ever seen before. This is actually the writing process to get your book done in that period of time. All right, well, it's been my pleasure to serve you. Go to The Conscious Author right now. Check it out. If it looks like something you're interested in, click on the button to fill in the application. Once you fill in the application, we're going to review it. And then if you look like a good fit, then we're going to schedule an appointment to get you aborted into the program. Okay. So that's a process. Very easy peasy, no obligation. Just go there and check it out. The Conscious Author. Thank you, Kayla. I appreciate you putting that there. And I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.